Managing Director of Trinidad Aggregate Products, Carmen Reed, says she and her fellow board members have every right to remove the chair of the board, Peter Permell, and Deputy Chair Richard Saunders. She says the bylaws of the company allow an A-class shareholder to do this.
TAP has a bylaws that says every shareholder who holds 12% of the shares is entitled to an A-class share. The specialty about that A-class is that you can come together collectively and elect an equivalent number of directors on the board. So meaning if there are 3 A-class shares, you can elect 3 directors. So in 2014, there were the same number of A-class shares. So Mr. Permell, Mr. Saunders, and myself were elected.
She, her stepdaughter and husband were the owners of all the A-class shares in the company. When her husband died, his shares went to Mrs. Reed. She explains what happened at the meeting where Mr. Permell and Mr. Saunders were asked to resign.
It was a Friday, I can't remember the exact date. We called a meeting with Mr. Permell and Mr. Saunders, and Mr. Gift attended as well. And we, meaning my stepdaughter and I, and informed them that we would like to request them to resign because we wish to put in new directors on the board. So discussions took place, but you see, it is provided for in the bylaws.
Mrs. Reed believes that the people they have lined up to replace the 2 men have more interest in the company as they hold shares in it. After they resisted the request, Mrs. Reed held an A-class special shareholder meeting and through the company's secretary sent out emails of removal.
They were not, honestly, they were not doing what the shareholders wish to do. Because if you are actually carrying out the wishes of the shareholders, there's no reason for them to move you, right? And it could not be that the shareholders wish to do one thing and you want to do something else. So actually they're fighting us.
Mrs. Reed herself received a letter of termination from the chair and out of fear blocked him from entering the TAP compound. She has spoken with her lawyers on the matter.
His act to remove me was definitely a retaliatory act because it was a midnight removal. Right after he was replaced as the director. And I have 1.8 million shares, he has 0.
The managing director says she is surprised by the resistance of Mr. Permell. Mrs. Reed said she continues to work to keep the company going strong even as she takes on this legal struggle. Marie-Therese Bernard, C News.
And C News spoke with Peter Permell on the matter. He said he and Mr. Saunders have the support of the company's lawyers, Lex Caribbean, who are now representing them after they advised that the action of the 2 A-class shareholders was unlawful. As such, the company and its lawyers on Permell and Saunders' behalf have commenced legal proceedings against the shareholders Carmen Reed and Renee Zamoun. In particular, Mr. Permell explains they were advised that Section 76 of the Companies Act and the TAP Company's bylaw clause 12.2 were not adhered to when the A-class shareholders did not invite them to the meeting at which the shareholders purported to have removed them. He says the lawyers' advice made clear that convening a meeting in the director's absence rendered any resolution they passed invalid or unlawful.